Okay, this is Trophy Gold, the Maze of Nuromen, Part 3. I want to do a quick recap, then a little bit of housekeeping. In particular, with the housekeeping, I want to talk with Raji about how to handle his character, Valen, who died last session. So I want to pick up because I want to figure out like how we're going to, I know what I want to do, but I want to make sure everybody's cool with it first. So last time you essentially just started like the exploration of the Maze of Nuromen proper. It's not a maze. That's point one. It's about as unmaze-like as a space can be. But the dungeon, right? And so you had some encounters, found some treasures, accomplished some secals. It was all pretty straightforward dungeon crawly type stuff. The thing that happened that is kind of like the big deal, I guess, in terms of where we're at, is that Valen jumped on a fire beetle like a grenade, and it went off and destroyed Valen's central corpus. I actually did not get a chance to watch the video or watch the ending of the video from before, so I actually don't remember. Did we combat the fire beetles, or was it a risk roll? Like, what happened with them? Do you all recall?
Pretty sure it
I recall it was a combat.
Was it a combat? Okay, but we must not have finished it, right? Did we not finish it? Or
I think my weak point just got rolled during the combat.
Yeah.
There's no gold roll when I look back at the roller, though.
Yeah, there was no gold roll, so that's what I was wondering, is if we finished, or did I just like cut it off prematurely? I don't remember. But
I thought we beat it, but you hit the weak point, and that was enough to take you to 6 rounds.
Okay. So we have to roll gold dice for them then. Still, is that correct?
Yeah, I don't remember doing it.
That's what we're gonna do. So if you're watching the video and you notice the inconsistency, and I know you'll tell me about it, don't tell me about it, because I'm saying right here I know about it. All right. So people love to tell me, you know who you are. You love to tell me that I forget NPC names and stuff, or I get the NPC names wrong. Okay, so good. So here's my thinking on what to do with Valen. I think that it's probably too late to make a new character because we are in the last session. Even though I hope to continue this campaign later in the year, I don't really want to do a new character right now. Given that I think we're probably pretty close to, if not the end of the dungeon, certainly probably the end of the extent that you all want to be in it, given everyone's ruin. And so what I think I'm going to do is say that you are still conscious, Valen, and you are still reasonably mobile, maybe. You can still do hunt rolls. You can do risk rolls so long as there's not a dark die, but you cannot do combat. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, just that your character can still do something for the remainder of the adventure. And then when we're done, if the group is willing to spend 2 gold to have you reconstructed, we will do that. But you, Valen, has to take on an extra burden for that as well. So that's my thinking. Feels like a reasonable solution. What do you think, Raji?
Yeah, that works. And I guess like narratively, maybe just significant portions of my body have been burned away or something like that.
Or something. Yeah. I mean, I think we can kind of handle that as we kind of go along, especially after we decide like sort of what your, what you end up looking like or being like. I think right now, what it is just like your central part of you is just like super damaged, right? And like it would retire you if not for the fact that you might have to spend a lot of money to get yourself repaired when you guys go back to town.
I guess that makes sense because I'm a mannequin. Maybe
and I think I'm only letting this happen because you're a mannequin, right? If you were a person, I'd probably just be like, you're dead, or a human.
That works for me though.
Okay, cool. So we'll do that, and I think that's a good way to do it considering the circumstances. The other thing, as far as housekeeping goes, is I do want to just run through and read that little block of information that I like for viewers of the video to know, as well as us, starting with gold and continuing on through burdens, just to get a sense of where everyone's at right now. So let's start with Kiva.
All right, Kiva has 1 gold, 2 hunt tokens, 4 ruin, because 1 was healed earlier, and 3 burdens.
Fabulous. You also have the condition one with the ooze, but I don't know if we've decided that's relevant anymore or not. I don't know. I think the ooze is still there. It's just inside the gelatinous cube. So, yeah. Okay, Raji, do give us that information about Valen, I guess.
Sure. I have 3 gold, 1 hunt token, 6 ruin, no conditions.
All right, and 3 burdens. And let's go to Basso.
Also has 2 gold, 2 hunt tokens, 3 ruin, and 3 burdens.
Okay, and then Reynolds.
Reynolds has 5 gold, 2 hunt tokens, 3 ruin, and the condition exhausted, and 3 burdens.
I want to ask for the folks who, when you're tracking your gold, are you all counting your gold worth of found equipment, like your treasure as well in that, or are you
I
keeping that
wasn't.
separate? Okay.
I
I wasn't. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, I would have 2 more gold in that case.
Yeah, well, the way you can notate it however you wish, but the way I usually prefer is that like you write down each piece of equipment with its gold value, and then any like just money, like coinage you find, that goes into the gold stat. But if you are able to keep it all together in your head, like, and you just want like the number so that you know what you need to match to your burdens, that's fine also. But however you want to do it is fine. But I just want to clarify that for anybody watching. So, okay. Did I miss anything in the recap, or is there anything else we need to talk about for housekeeping? Okie doke. Let's get some gold dice going for these fire beetles. I think they had 8 endurance, if I'm not mistaken. So, Valen, why don't you do us the honors? Roll 8 gold dice.
Zero gold.
An auspicious start. The explosive, fiery nature of the creatures makes nothing available afterwards except just some burnt up chitin. Okay. So let me remind you sort of what the scene was. If you look at the map, you're in that sort of grotto portion down on the southerly portion of the map. There's a great big fountain there, and that room is covered in all sorts of strange plants and things, right? And I think the last thing I heard before the fire beetles were a thing, which you also get to name. I keep calling them fire beetles, but I'm taking away your right to name them. If you want to come up with a better name, by all means. I consider them kind of an animal, which is why I wasn't being too fussy about just calling them what they are. But we can come back to that. The one thing that I know was kind of happening before that happened was that Reynolds was going into that next room that's connected to that sort of little grotto area. And so I think we'll get to that, Reynolds, here directly. Where is everyone else? Where is everyone else, as you recall, at this point? Did everybody make it to the grotto, or Basso, were you still over by the kitchen? You were doing the kitchen.
I had climbed through the fire pit into the kitchen with the rats and
You're
was
keeping
sort of
them at bay,
investigating.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I'd gone to the door and just like peeked through, but without planning to go too much further.
Okay, I think we'll circle back to that. Let's go to, I'm just going to go around the table at this point and find out what everyone wants to do. Valen, you are still functional. You can still walk around and speak and converse. You just can't do any risk rolls with Dark Die, and you can't do combat. So I do want to ask you though, Valen, what will you do?
I think last time I explored the fountain. So, you said there was like a garden area, right? Or is that
The
just
whole
kind of
area,
everything?
the whole thing is like just overgrown, really,
Okay.
a lot. So I actually have there's a pretty good picture of that in the actual module. The module uses all public domain art, I'm pretty sure. But they managed to find a pretty good one for this area. I'll put that in the image board while you're talking.
I think I think I just want to search through the overgrowth to see if I find anything of significance that isn't obvious.
Okay, do a hunt roll.
All right. 6.
Take a token and give me just a moment to check the module. Checking the undergrowth, no. I mean, unless you want to spend a token, no, you don't see anything of particular interest or value. But you do get your token. So let me go to Reynolds. What are you up to?
Prior to the fire beetles appearing, I was just poking my head around that room on the eastern side there, which I believe you said looked like a bedroom of some kind.
Yeah, I'll go ahead
So I
and give
guess
you.
once the fire beetles are down, I would maybe go back to that.
I'll give you this sort of at a glance, sort of what you see. So it's an ornate and well-furnished room. The cold stone walls are clad in rare timbers and draped with long tapestries, which depict the life and career of presumably Nuromen as he's sort of founding Law's End. There's also a depiction of that gigantic multi-armed baboon-like creature that has appeared periodically in the story in one of the tapestries. And there's also there's a painting of a lush garden with a beautiful woman and little girl sat on a fountain. It looks like the grotto that you just stepped out of. There are couches, there's a vanity, there's a canopied bed, a wardrobe. And yeah, so that's what you see kind of at a glance. What would you do?
I think Reynolds' interest is always in any valuables that may be present, and it would seem that the vanity and the wardrobe would be logical places to start looking, although I think I'm also curious about that painting and what the particularly in the figures inside of it, and whether I can get any sense of whether this was depicting the grotto kind of as was many years ago, or are there any differences between how it looks to me now and what's depicted in the painting?
I like that. Make a hunt roll based off examining the painting. I think that's good.
Okay, I don't think I really have any relevant skills here. So I'm guessing I'm just going to go ahead and roll a 1-die hunt.
You
And
encounter
I got
something
2.
terrible. Yeah, we'll come back to you encounter something terrible in a moment. Kiva, what are you up to?
I think so. Does that set from the previous area, or does it still count as the same area that we're in? Like, does that count for the grotto area?
Yeah, the chat is for the grotto and for at least the connected room, possibly more. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I would like to use one of my tokens before I roll to find something if I can.
Okay, totally fair. I think that's great. You have a very, very good eye for plants, correct? Seems like you do.
I think I was interested in that last session. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me take a look at your skills. I always try to like match things up to people's interests and skills. Traps, prophecy, invention, or mending. I think what you'll find is there is a quite rare orchid growing in the grotto. It can be transported if you are careful about doing it, but it's worth 1 gold to the right buyer. I would like to ask you though, what about the orchid signifies to you that it's special and rare? Like, how do you know?
I'm thinking of some, what are they called? Like snapdragons, like flowers where the shape of it almost looks like a face. So I think it's especially unusual in that like the patterns of the inner, if you look at it at the right angle, it looks almost like a green man kind of face. Like there's a shape of eyes and features within the petals. So maybe there's some lore about that. You know, maybe it's another psychotropic plant that if you ingest it or do something with it, you'll meet like.
Oh, you muted yourself at the end there, Gabriel.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that maybe because of the face, it's the lore around it is that you'll actually like meet the spirit of this flower if you engage with it somehow.
Awesome, I love that. Go ahead and add that to your gear. It's worth 1 gold. I will come back to you though. Basso, so let's back up just a little bit. You were keeping the rats at bay. I did describe how, and indeed on the map, there is a door that is in the upper left corner there as we're facing it. What do you do? Well, there's also a passage as well, but that we've decided that passage probably just leads back into the back into the dining hall. So
yeah, I think Basso has like his bloody hand up with the protection rune from the vermin, and then is going to inch his way over to that door, and he's gonna I think he's just gonna open it up and have a peek down the hallway or the next room.
yeah, give me a hunt roll.
All right, I don't think I really have any skills for this. A 3.
You encounter something terrible. I think what you see, do you have a light source?
Yeah, I have like the jar of, I think I had, the jar of glowworms that I'm like holding up.
Yeah. So you'll see in the light of your glowworms, it's just a little hall, like an L-shaped hall. You can see that it goes down a little bit and then turns right, and probably goes to another room or another door or something. But at the little juncture of the L, you will see a very large rat, quite engorged, distended body, the fur very patchy and thin. It's laying on its side, and there are numerous little like baby ones like clinging to it, milking, or clinging to its teats, and it's just like giving you the most like dead-eyed stare in the darkness. Its glowing red eyes just like staring directly at you. How do you feel right now?
I think Basso feels very alone, very frightened, and very in over his head. Like he's probably never like just been alone in a dungeon looking at like some kind of like huge rat at the end of a tunnel before. So
And I mean quite big. I mean, like it's like the size of it's bigger than the ones you were keeping at bay. It's probably like the size of an ottoman, right? Yeah. So what do you do?
Can I see past it? Does it seem like the hall, like, oh yeah,
It
it
just
turns
turns.
off.
Yeah, it turns.
I think I'm going to just like slowly do that step back, shut the door, and then head back to like the fireplace and try to crawl back through looking for my companions.
So you don't actually have to crawl back through. There are, you can get through there's like
I think
basically two doorways on the sides, two little halls of doorways. One has some stairs that go up to the raised portion of the dining hall.
I think Basso understands that, but also his mindset is this is how he came in, so this is how he's going to leave, sort of retracing his steps.
I love it. We'll come back to, let's just go back to the group now. I do want to pick up on Reynolds since I owe Reynolds a terrible encounter. So why don't we do that now? Reynolds, you are looking at this painting, and as I mentioned, it depicts the grotto. It depicts a beautiful woman and a young girl, possibly the woman's daughter or something. And they look happy. There's like sunlight coming in from the exposed part of the grotto. The plants are lush and vibrant. It doesn't look too different from the way it does now, if not for the fact that now it's just sort of abandoned, right? And overgrown. And then you turn your head to realize that laying on the bed, there are two skeletons, one bigger and one smaller, both dressed identically as the people in the painting, laying on the beds, clutching each other in an embrace, wearing the tattered finery of what they were wearing in the painting, or at least if it's the same people, they're wearing the same thing. Regardless, what do you do?
Yeah, I think Reynolds kind of does a double take, looking between the painting and the skeletons as he realizes the similarities in the way they're dressed. But at the same time, Reynolds is no stranger to hardship and misery, and I think his mind remains focused on getting what he can get out of here before leaving. He's starting to feel that he's made a decent profit on this delve, and is starting to have half a mind to getting back and away sooner rather than later before he goes too deep. So I think having noticed these two skeletons, I don't think I'd give them too much thought, and to return to trying to pry open the vanity or the wardrobe or whatever I can, and just get out of there with whatever I can grab.
So where are you going from there? What, the vanity or the wardrobe?
I think I'll go for the vanity. That seems like where jewelry, for example, might be stored.
Yeah, absolutely. The vanity is it's a small desk with a mirror and quite narrow. There is drawer underneath, and there's like a small wrought iron chair at the desk as well. How are you searching it? What do you do?
I'll see if the drawer is locked or can slide open.
Yeah, do a hunt roll.
In terms of skills and equipment, I'm thinking maybe if it is locked, I do have a crowbar.
Oh, yeah, I'll say it is, just to give you the benefit of that if you want. Sure.
Okay, so
Or maybe just rusted closed with time, right?
right. Okay, so I got a 4.
Take your token. We'll come back to that. So Phelan, you said you were searching the undergrowth. Were you looking more like on the ground or like behind the undergrowth, like on the walls? Because it grows up and around as well.
I think I was looking more around the walls, just to see
Okay.
if there was anything obscured.
Oh, okay.
entrance or
That's an interesting. I'm glad I asked the question because, in fact, on one side of the grotto, on this sort of uh, the side that you come in on, sort of as you come in, like on the right, the stone on that wall is distinctly different from the stone on the other wall.
Is it a different type or is it like
It
worn?
is, yeah, it's different. It's not the same type of stone. Yeah, it's stone,
Okay.
but like just a slightly different color, maybe a different mineral.
Okay. Um, could I kind of like push at it or see if there's anything um like a secret door here or something like that? I'm thinking of using like my artifice skill to see if something's like obscured or hidden.
Yeah, I'm into that. Do a 2 die hunt roll.
All right. No, got a 2.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment. And Kiva, what about you? After you find your rare plant and get it safely in a sack with some soil, what do you do?
I guess curious to see like what the purpose of this grotto seems to be. If it was just like a garden for like leisure, if it had some more meaning behind it. Because at least as a player, I don't think I was picking up on that yet. Kiva is also just interested in not just finding treasure, but finding like meaningful or rare treasures to maybe uh, present to members of the swirling court as part of her drive. She wants to find something that will really show sort of she's like exceptional.
I'm going to give you the first part for free. So you don't have to you could just poke your head into the room where Raynops is, and assuming that you're in regular communication and you'll see the painting, you'll make the connection pretty straightforwardly that this used to be like a leisure spot, and it significantly is nothing like the rest of the dungeon that you've seen so far. There are no apart from the tapestry with the baboon on it, there's really no other like extreme or overt expressions of necromancy, right? It's especially the painting. You can imagine this was this was just a spot to like sort of look out. It also has like a nice soothing trance-like oral quality too, because you can hear the river outside the room, right? Which is another aspect of it. So yeah, I think it's for pleasure. Um, Now, that second thing you asked, what would you do to pursue that?
I guess I would continue. I'd go into the next room and explore, especially the tapestry, the baboon. That creepy symbol keeps showing up, and there's got to be some reason. So maybe I'll kind of peek behind the tapestry, poke around the corners of the room.
Yeah, make a hunt roll.
Oh, I want to see if I can use like traps as part of it. If maybe there's some trickery, something
Like you're
afoot with the
specifically,
symbol.
yeah, I'm into it. Yeah, like maybe a cursed thing or something, possibly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Sure, go for it. Yeah, makes sense to me.
6.
Take your token. There's nothing behind the tapestry, and there's nothing enchanted or anything about it. Like you can tell, it's molded and not in great shape. You can flip all the tapestries. In fact, there's nothing behind them. So, Basso, we'll say you connect back up with the group. What do you do? You'll probably see Valen pushing around like a wall.
Yeah, I double take Valen because there's a lot of fresh damage, and
Oh, yeah.
I think like Bossa looks pretty bad too, right? He's been crawling through a fire pit, so but I'm gonna head around, walk around, and maybe look for Kiva and say, Kiva, What did you find? I only found a rat queen where I went. We shouldn't go that way. Yeah, we shouldn't go that way. We shouldn't look her in the eyes for sure. But what's this place? It looks tranquil.
It is. It's almost like it was must have been quite beautiful once. And that that rat queen, it didn't, and I point to the tapestry again, it didn't have like extra arms like this creature or anything, did it?
No, it had haunting eyes and a lot of babies. Yeah, we don't. No, I don't want to talk about it.
Babies the
Like,
size of American footballs. Sorry, continue.
um, yeah, I guess I'm gonna wander around a bit and maybe find Reynolds as well. Like just like rifling through the and head into the room with him.
Reynolds, when you pop open that drawer, there's nothing in it as best you can tell, but inside you do find what appears to be, well, I don't know if it's, yeah, I guess this is terrible, kind of, but basically inside there are carvings on the wood of the drawer that are basically like um, messages of that, like someone left to whoever used to use this vanity, like loving messages, romantic messages, affectionate messages. And it looks like someone might have been in the middle of carving one when they just never finished or never got a chance to finish. Perhaps speaking to the suddenness of whatever happened here. But there's, short of spinning a token, there's nothing in it.
I think I'll say, Basso, come look at this. There's writing in this drawer. Is there? I know we're looking for a word, and reading is not my not a skill that I'm particularly accustomed to.
Well,
Maybe you can see something of interest here.
I'll take a look, Reyna. Let's step out of the way. What happened to Valen back there? They're not looking good.
Yeah, he stirred up a nest of some kind of creatures. We fought him off, but I think he took a bit of a beating. Don't really know how to tell with a being such as him whether he's badly hurt or not.
Well, he was looking at plants when I last saw him, so he must be fine. Yeah, and then I'll sort of like look through the carvings and see if there's like, but it's just like love letters essentially.
Basically,
right?
yeah. It's almost as this is like little cute, affectionate terms. It's all in the same hand though, so it's like it seems like it was written for the person who uses it to find it, right?
I think what Basso is gonna do, I might have to use some equipment to do this, but I want to take out like a sheet of parchment and maybe like some charcoal and try to make an etching of them. But I'm also curious if doing that with Basso's curse of not being able to write is going to like cancel it out. So it's almost like Basso's like trying to find a workaround.
I feel like it is a workaround, right? I think that's what makes it more interesting. I mean, like anybody else would just write it down, right? But you have to find alternative methods, right? So no, I think that's great. Just give me one relevant piece of equipment and you can do that. Meanwhile, Phelan, you said you're kind of pushing on the wall, and prodding and doing different things, right?
Yeah, seeing if anything will kind of give.
Something does give. It opens right up. It's a secret door. There's a hinge, and it kind of pushes forward a little bit and then pops out. So you kind of open it outwards toward you, and you have to kind of like clear a little bit of brush, but once you do that, it pops open. Now, as soon as it pops open, you are staring directly at what appears to be about a dozen zombies on the other side of the thing. Well, let's do what I'm supposed to do. About a dozen humanoids with rotting flesh, stinking of
Something
death,
wrong with them.
eyeballs hanging out, skin ready to slough off. They're just like, and they look like they are like they know to be there, but they were surprised a little by the door opening, and so that you've kind of gotten their attention, and they're just like kind of pressing forward slowly. What do you do?
My first instinct is to fight them alone, but I think I kind of like raise my little dagger arm, and maybe like the dagger part is like melted or warped in a way that's totally useless. And maybe I feel fear for the first time, knowing that I can't fight. I'll yell out to everybody.
You can close the door. Do you close the door, or do you just like keep it open so they can spill into the grotto?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll close the door and then I'll yell out.
Okay. Valen's trying to get everyone's attention at this point.
I mean, Kiva will rush out right away. Seeing how injured he was before, she'd been kind of curious to inspect what was broken in him before with some of her mending skills, but is definitely alerted and comes out to see what's going on.
I've found a hidden passage, but there are people behind it, and they look unwell, kind of melty.
People like yourself, and I mean, you look pretty rough, my friend. I was going to talk to you about that. I'm really sorry about. It's brave what you did back there.
Thank you. I'm fine, I think.
Are we in danger? I can create my web to trap them back there again if I need to.
Well, I think they can't get out, but there might be something behind this wall that they're guarding.
I will tell you at a glance, it looked like there was there was definitely like a chamber on the other side. Okay. Well, it was more like probably better to put it as they were essentially like kind of piled up at the landing of a staircase. So you saw the stairs behind them.
There was a staircase in a chamber. They must be put there because they're guarding something. That would be my best guess.
Seems like a bad idea for us to try to face them unless we could somehow try to destroy them. Maybe set a fire in there ourselves. I don't know. We'll see what the others think.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think maybe Basso comes out of the room and gets caught up. And well, if these melty sick guardians truly are holding us back from something, we'll have to get through them somehow. Whether that means fighting them or not, I don't know. But I don't know if we should set too many fires in here either. This place has a lot of plants, and we'd hate to have them go up and smoke us out.
Actually,
it's
quitting while we're
exposed to the open air. So,
oh yeah.
So don't worry about that so much. But
perhaps we should consider quitting while we're ahead and getting out of here. We're getting too loose and sloppy here.
I need to find Nuromen's notes. I don't think you understand that.
I saw you all chatting about it earlier. You can spend tokens to accomplish a set goal. That is an option on the table.
What about the face store? Does anyone have any ideas?
Maybe like it'd be a good point to spend the tokens now.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Accomplish this.
Yeah, I think so. I'll kick a token or two in if we need some.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll spend one too.
If the tokens are spent, then I will tell you in the middle of all this conversation, Reynolds, you will notice that the skeleton of the little girl has a silver bracelet on the skeleton's wrist. And there is a word written on the bracelet. The bracelet says Anthea or Anthea. She'll type it for you. Probably her name.
Basso, what does this say?
Anthea or Anthea. I'm not 100% sure, but this has the trappings of magic, a magical word to it. It just feels right. It feels like, to be honest, I'm a little desperate, and it feels like it might be the word to get us through the door. But that means going through the passage with the well, whatever you and Kiva and Valen, whatever you guys experienced. Reynolds, are you too scared? Do you want to head home?
Push on a little further. Do we have to go back? Can't we go back the way we came? Through the dining.
Right, but we'll be coming out of the southern entrance of that large pillared room, which is where I believe Kiva and Valen dealt with that creature, and it's on the other side. The north side is where the face door is. I think we might be able to sneak by.
I think it is moving slowly now that it's dropped down and tried to fight us. I don't think it would be too difficult to run around it, maybe. But it is a good point that we should be careful. I mean, Valen is going to need some mending, and if I had the right materials, I might be able to help, but probably not here. So I would like to get all of us back in as few pieces as we can.
I'd rather try and sneak around that thing than face whatever it was that Valen found behind that wall over there.
Well, and you can hear those things now. They weren't making any noise when they weren't disturbed, but now you can hear them. They're just like pushing, scratching up against the wall. So you just hear like dozens of hands scratching on the door and on the walls, and you just hear this like
Yeah, let's not go that way.
Sneaking is my only option right now.
We'll get you fixed up. I promise. Okay, once we get back to town, to Fort Durin, it'll be fine. And then yeah, I think we're heading to the pillared room and then the door.
Yeah. So the box or cube shaped creature made of a gelatinous substance is easy enough to get around. It's quite slow. It lives and dies almost entirely by trickery, inadvertent trickery for that matter, and the fact that it's usually in tight corridors, not like wide open space. So you can, as long as you keep it some distance between yourself and it, you're okay. The door, however, give me a moment. Trying to find my door in the module. This is the worst thing about running modules is scrolling up and down. Let's see. Sorry, give me 1 minute. Okay, sorry, I was looking at something else too. I want to make sure if we get into this next part, like what it needs to kind of do. I might put us on a break in a minute, but before I do though, the door will make its challenge like it did before. If I remember correctly, it said something like speak the word or something like that, right? Bassa, what do you do?
Yeah, I'll step up to the door so that I'm directly in front of it and sort of like pose heroically and say, Anthea, Anthea.
Very good. The face sort of just like kind of melts away into the sort of copper of the door, right? And the door just pops open. On the other side of it, it opens up into another quite large chamber, this one more rectangle in orientation. I'll clip it and put it in the notes real quick. They're in the images do that real fast. This chamber also has a bunch of pillars and stuff in it, but let me just insert the image here. I think that'll do. Okay, that's more or less the size and shape of it. Let me tell you what it looks like at a glance, and then I'm going to put you on break. So the door says, none may pass unless they know the word, right? And then you speak the word, Anthea. It moans, you may pass, melts into the door, and then they swing open, right? The door swings open. Inside, it looks to be a very large study or library. There is a wondrous assortment of tables, books, contraptions, maps, globes, jars of small preserved creatures and appendages, bottles, alchemical apparatus, astrological charts, bones, feathers, classic wizard's laboratory, right? There's a bookcase with books and things, various tomes, spiders and cobwebs all over the place, regular sized spiders. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back, pick up from there. Okay, we're back. So, sort of this Nuromen's laboratory, right, on the other side. Basso, I assume you're first in. Perhaps most excitedly, based off what we know about you. What do you do?
Yeah, I think Basso just like takes 3 giant steps forward, really like just completely recklessly, and sort of like goes to the books first and then like sees the jar of specimens and turns halfway to them, just kind of like kid in a candy store, just sort of like digging in.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Are you looking for anything particular, or just something that like just sparks your curiosity?
I think I want to look specifically maybe for anything journals or notebooks written specifically by Nuromen.
Good. Make a hunt roll. There is a bookcase, so that might be a good place to check.
Cool. Can I use rituals skill to aid this?
This feels like a stretch if you're just looking for books written by him. So,
That's fair. Yeah, I don't really have anything else. Build hunt one. Oh, I got a 6.
take your token. Yes, there's quite a lot of writing by Norman here. You know, it's the sort of thing that the full volume of writing is probably the most valuable thing to you at this point, and to anybody who might be interested in buying such a thing. If you're willing to haul out the full volume of journals and books and things, you know, the whole collection, as it were, I'm not going to let you take any more treasure for the remainder of the adventure, but this is worth 3 gold to the right buyer, or for your personal collection.
Definitely just like shoving those into
Shoving
a
books,
sack.
shoving books in a sack. Yeah. Reynolds, while Basso is shoving books in a sack, what are you doing?
I think as Reynolds enters the room, he just sees all of this clearly educated person's stuff and starts rubbing his hands and things.
But also just like lots of jars of like ears and stuff, right? And like little creatures and stuff, you know.
I think that's pretty much what Reynolds imagines goes on in any kind of educated establishment anyway. So yeah, I think he's looking around and says, "Oh, this looks like there must be something worth the taking here." And I think he's going to go for go start looking on the tables, looking for any complex looking mechanisms or instruments, or anything that looks like it's made out of metal or used a lot of skill to make, that he can shove in a sack and walk out with.
Absolutely. Take a hut roll.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what I can justify in the way of skills here, because I don't think Reynolds really knows what he's looking at. He's looking for things that just look like they may be worth something. So I guess I'm just going straight for the hunt one.
Also want to point out, you have, just as a reminder, you have not found the crown yet. The crown of the Feyborn, the Feyborn prince. Just a reminder about the Feyborn prince's crown. If you don't get it, you may want to go the long way around the Feyborn camp. Sorry, so Reynolds, what'd you get?
I got a 4.
Take your token. There is, I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, a lot of the contraptions, especially the metal contraptions, they probably did something, or they had some sort of significance to Nuromen. A lot of them look kind of experimental, like devices that Nuromen was maybe working on. You can probably pile up enough brass and and tin and the other instruments in order to sell it to someone who's interested in the metals or whatever. It's the tools themselves are probably either too rusted or too pointless, maybe. Like it's like unclear whether even four to be worth anything. But intrinsically, they at least have the value of their metal. It would be a lot to haul around, but you're welcome to like collect it all if you wish. Um, One thing I'll say though, as you're doing this, you'll notice that there's a jar on a shelf, and this jar, there's actually it's not, the liquid doesn't go all the way up, and there's a frog in it, and the frog keeps following you around the jar. Like as you move over here, the frog like goes over to the edge of the jar, and as you move over here, it kind of paddles back over. It's like looking at you really intently. What do, if anything?
I think I'll turn to Kiva and Valen behind me and say, it looks like we have some company in here. I hope there's not a big that thing's mother lurking anywhere. The way Basso found the rat, the giant rat. What do you make of that?
I'm confused as to how that's alive. I mean, everything here is old, right? How is this still swimming in this water? Something would have happened to it a long time ago. Does it look unnaturally preserved, or is it just like an aquarium?
It's a jar. It was intended to be preserved, but the liquid doesn't go all the way to the top,
Hmm.
and the frog is just alive, bobbing around in it.
I wonder if it's fresh.
Does it look kind of preserved? You know, does its skin look like the normal skin of a frog? Does it look rotted?
Yeah,
Or
I mean, yeah. I'm not going to make you hunt roll on this. Yeah, it looks like a normal, frog, just a greenish gray frog. Basso, while you're stuffing valuable books in your bag, your companions are staring at a frog in a jar.
Yeah, I think like I walk by in the background, I'm holding up a jar of glowworms, just like a true, clearly mages just put stuff in jars in this world. It's just totally normal thing. I guess like I would like look around and be like, do you think do you think the crown is in here somewhere?
I'm not sure I want to find that thing.
Well, if we need to find it, I can find it quickly.
I do want to check in with Phelan and Kiva. I mean, are you all still examining the frog, or are you looking at other things at this point?
I to me this looks like a place where I might find what I'm looking for my drive, but I don't think I have the knowledge to know. So maybe knowing that like Basso knows this kind of thing, I might take him aside and like try to get his help with that.
Let's just have that scene.
Okay. Basso, I'm looking for something to cure my sister of a magical curse that's causing some ailment to her body.
Well, you've certainly come to the right place. This seems to have everything you need here. What's the curse? Tell me about it. What's wrong with her? She's in a worse state than you are, because Balin, you're not looking good.
Much worse. She's kind of rusting and disintegrating.
But slowly over time.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if we'll find a solution here, but we might find some kind of alchemical concoction that might be able to slow or reverse it even, maybe.
The room is littered with beakers and jars and bottles of fluids and things all over the place. So
This certainly looks like the type of thing I would need, but I know fighting. I don't know this.
Well, we'll need a little sample area of you, a little chunk, and we'll need to do some experiments quickly and find out if try to find something that would work for, I don't know, an anti-oxidizer or something. I don't know. As a player, isn't that versed in rust solutions, but I will help Vale and try to look around.
I will, at this point, I
Create
want to
some
point out.
fantasy CLR.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was thinking CLR. At this point, I do want to tell you that you do have a set goal. The set goal is safely acquire Nuromen's goods.
Always a very interesting way to put it.
I'm always very careful when I construct the set goal. The language of the set goal is super important to me. Safely acquire Nuromen's goods. So yeah, so you guys might be fiddling around with beakers for a minute. That sounds interesting. Kiva, what are you doing?
Seeing Reynolds look at the different what look like tools that are kind of rusting. Kiva was hoping to find something to make other things with. Maybe unique tools would have been her first hope, but kind of seeing that, she kind of says to Reynolds, like, "Oh, not the best luck there, my friend, but I'm gonna look further and hoping to find like either like alchemical ingredients or just unusual, rare, magical ingredients that maybe she'll learn what to do with someday."
I love it. Make a hunt roll.
So I'm going to use invention for that.
Perfect.
And I got a 3.
And you encounter something terrible. You're poking around. There's a table that's sort of central to the room, Kiva. And you may have noticed it when you walked in, that there's like a skeleton laying on it, right? At this point, skeletons aren't super shocking to you, I imagine. As you take a closer look, though, you realize that it is a skeleton of one of your people on the table. And the rib cage has been opened up. Possibly some sort of experiments or fiddling around was happening by Nuromen on this goblin. How are you feeling?
I mean, immediate revulsion, even after what we've seen. I think I've heard that wizards and maybe other wealthy nobles do experiments like this, but I've never seen sort of proof like this, this deliberate of a fashion.
Take a condition of revulsion. What do you do once you realize that?
I think I kind of slow down a little bit and kind of look at everything a little differently for a moment. Still looking for what's valuable, but kind of seeing that maybe there's more of a sinister purpose to it. And kind of hang back for a minute.
Yeah, fair. Reynolds, like I said, you could probably collect enough of these like various little tools and gewgaws to if you chuck them all in a bag, you can sell the scrap for probably, I'd say, about $1 in total. If you're willing to hold on to the devices for a while until you can make it to, say, the city of Umbret, you might be able to like find someone who's interested in the sort of eccentric or unique quality of these Nuromen's tools. But if you want to just sell them straight away at Fort Durin, it'll be $1. So, but you're welcome to take that stuff if you wish.
Yeah, that sounds good. I guess Reynolds also almost expected, wizards may have gems or, more obviously valuable things, but I think he'll turn to Basso and ask for his expertise. Well, I don't know what I'm looking at here, Basso. What is all this stuff for? Is it worth anything to anyone?
Yeah, I think like Bosso's like helping Valen on one side and then like turning to Reynolds on the other, and it's like, well, no, I mean, look at the rust on those tools. That's worthless. Might as well throw that out. Like, what you need to do is look around for books and scrolls and notes. That's what you want. You want knowledge, Reynolds. Who cares about the material possessions in here?
Bright Teeth Assyrio is much more interested in the material possessions I can bring back from here. Let me assure you, he would be too impressed if I try to pay him with knowledge.
Well, you could just look around, and some of this must be precious metals that you could probably tear down if you want to be crude about it.
You educated types generally would probably secrete away your most valuable possessions. Am I right? It wouldn't just be sitting out in plain sight.
Well, it
waiting
was
for
behind a
what you'd
past magic door, so maybe
This is true.
your theory is probably correct. Reynolds. I'm curious about this potion or this substance, this whatever you guys this whatever you're going to try to make. Apparently, right here on the spot. Is that the plan? Or
Well, I think my plan was more to try to find something that would work and
okay,
do some spot tests on Valen.
Got it. I will let you have a hunt roll using Valen as your second die, if you wish.
Sweet. I got a 4.
Take your token. We'll come back to this. Kiva, after you're done having a moment to yourself, anything else you want to do?
I think Kiva, meanwhile, has torn a piece of one of her scarves and just like laid it over the skull of the skeleton, almost as like a little veil, and just kind of like settled herself for a moment. And yeah, I think I'm still curious. I still want to poke around and see what else is in some of these jars.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the whole time, this frog is like following you all around its jar, like keeping it's very conscious of you. Give me a hunt roll.
Can I use the same skill? Is that, I mean, it's still looking for
Oh yeah, of course.
invention. Sure. Okay. Still a 3. Frog is weirding me out, I guess.
There is one jar that is particularly large. I'd almost describe it more as like an urn, even maybe a little bigger than that, but it's on the ground. And you pop it open, and a green, slimy pseudopod comes out of it and begins writhing wildly, and you can see the rest of this green and now slimy creature crawling up out of the jar. What do you do?
I immediately try to slam the lid back on and put my weight over it.
Yeah,
I can.
You can do that. Yeah, you can do that. You could be holding it. As long as you're holding it, you don't have to worry about it. But if you ever try to move, it's maybe more of a problem. Meanwhile, Reynolds, Basso and Valen look busy. So what do you do?
Are there any other doorways or obvious entrances to this room going further?
At a glance, no. I mean, it's a big room. It's very, as you can see on the map, it's quite large, just filled with crap. But it appears to be, well, is there another door? Let's look. I don't think there is. Oh, I think there might be. Oh yeah, there is. There's a door in the like on the right hand, as you walk in on the right hand side, that corner, this sort of northeast corner, simple wooden door.
I think I'll go take a look there, see if I can. I'm a little nervous after whatever it was Valen found earlier, and I think I'll try and listen at the doorway, and if I don't hear any obvious movement, I'll see if I can open it and see what's beyond.
Let me check. There is no there's no sound coming from the other side of the door. It's perfectly quiet, as best you can tell, and the door opens easily. It opens onto a set of stairs going down.
Hey, look here! I told you there was more to this place than what was in this work area. There are stairs down here.
Yeah, Valen, there's stairs. Yeah, sure. We're kind of busy over here. Just, have a look.
I don't think we should get separated again. Last time we did that, somebody almost got eaten by a giant rat, and somebody else stirred up a nest of some kind of burning bugs.
Well, give us a few minutes and we can all check it out together then, if you want. If you want to keep pressing forward.
Kiva's looking towards you all, towards Reynolds, if he's talking. Like, I could use some stronger hands here, and holding down this lid that's kind of shifting even under her grasp a little bit. There's another of those oozing creatures. I seem to have awoken, and I'm afraid to let this lid go.
Sorry, you do what?
Oh, I just alert Reynolds that I'm holding the lid down.
You see this is what I'm talking about us poking into things on our own when nobody else is there to back us up. Come here. And I think Reynolds will go over with his dagger and see if he can, if there's any part of this pseudopod protruding. I think he'll see if he can kind of poke at it or slice it off around the lid so that the lid can shut properly again.
The lid shuts properly. If you both are kind of managing it, you'll be able to get it to shut properly again, and you can kind of stick it in and secure it. So that's fine. So Basso, you were poking around you were trying out different solutions on Valen, correct?
Yeah.
Indeed. And one of them, you apply this liquid to Valen, and nothing happens except that there's a bit of, well, where you put where you rub the spot on Valen's burnt up, partially melted chest, it's glowing a little bit. There's like a distinct shimmery glow. This liquid has some sort of property. What do you do? I don't think it's helping Valen, but it's something interesting.
Valen, do you feel anything right now special?
You do not, Valen.
No.
Could just be some kind of distilled bioluminescence, but might be something more. Valen, I'm a little overloaded, and then I'll take the jar. Do you think you could carry this for me? Maybe you could find a use for it back in town. You can sell it. Just know that it's worth it, and we might need it later.
Well, fine. Yes, there's room in my backpack.
Jar of glowing liquid in your found equipment. No value, no intrinsic value, but if you want to experiment with it later, by all means. Otherwise, you're not having any luck finding anything that'll work. So
yeah, I kind of
Seems
like,
as though our time is up.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know what? Once we get back, if you let me see your sister, maybe I can help in a more scholarly sort of setting, a laboratory or something, not here, but I'd definitely take a look and try to help you out.
I appreciate it.
And then I guess I'll look over at Reynolds and Kiva and say, well, the offer still stands that I could find the Feyborn crown quickly if we needed to.
If that's the price of us getting out of here, then do what you need to do.
All right, I have the ritual guide, so I can conjure a golden thread to follow. Would that work?
yeah, actually, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I want to cast that.
What could go wrong, group?
If we're trying to find the crown, maybe something is wearing it.
Maybe the golden thread is happy to lead us through something dangerous on the way there. It's not considering that element.
Or guides you to the wrong object somehow.
Yeah, I kind of like it guides you to danger. Something fundamentally dangerous. Let's take a look at your dice. Do you have a skill or piece of equipment that's applicable?
I think the ritual skill would apply here this time.
Yeah, I agree. And Devil's Bargains. Who has a Devil's Bargain?
Something is guided to us.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to say that I'm going to go wild and say I'm going to say specifically that Nuromen is guided to you. Any other offers?
I can't top Nuromen. We've got to face him sooner or later, I guess.
I'll accept the Nurumin is guided to us. Devil's bargain then.
And take a dark die for the ritual. So 2-1.
I got a 6 on the dark die.
Your ruin goes up. We'll describe. We can figure out what that means later. But I am curious. What does the ritual look like?
Yeah, so I think we've kind of established that Basso is sort of like a blood mage, almost like he uses his blood to fuel his spells. So I think he crouches down, cross-legged, and then like makes a long like cut on the back of his arm, and then says some arcane words and power, and then I think like the blood sort of like almost like gravity isn't affecting it anymore, begins to like drift up, and then like just like a snap, it just like bursts into luminescence and then like zips away somewhere.
And that blood, that luminescent blood flies. That's maybe where your ruin comes from. I think it's just a lot of your blood is maybe like being used here. The blood thread goes across the room to a rug on the under a table in the north part of the room, and it goes underneath the rug. What do you do?
Well, I think we're closer than we expected. It seems like the crown is just under here. Then like getting sort of like almost like when you give blood, you feel a bit faint after getting up. Take like a few steps towards the rug, and then like I'll like shove the table away and just like grab the rug. Same reckless behavior. Throw it off.
It is a trapdoor in the floor, hatch that can be. It's locked currently, but if anybody has the ability to, if anybody just has the lock pick ability or something like that, you can pop the lock, no problem.
Reynolds, this seems like something you're specialized in.
Let's take a look. Locks are my specialty, and if the worst comes to worst, I have a trusty crowbar right here that I'm sure can get it open for us.
I promise after this we can leave.
What are yours? Do you have a relevant skill, Reynolds?
My profession is a lockpick,
Oh, that's good enough. Yeah.
I have the skill of security, which I guess
perfect.
I would interpret as being relevant.
Absolutely. You're able to get the lock. You're able to get the lock popped open using maybe some of your bits of metal that you've, squirreled away. And it opens up, and there is a shaft going down, and you can see the blood trail going down, down and down. And there's a ladder. So. Kiva, anything else you want to do in this room?
I want to look back at that frog and see if the frog is behaving any differently after this happens.
Oh, yes. The frog is currently pressed up against the back of the jar as far back as it can go. It has a look of terror on its face, as much as frogs can have a look of terror on their face. And it appears to be looking at something and trying desperately to get far away from it. It's unclear what it's looking at.
I'll definitely point this out to the group. I didn't think this was natural, but that's got to be bad, right?
Yeah, I think. Can I follow the frog's eyes to see what it's looking at? I don't know how hard it is to follow a frog's eyes.
I mean, I don't think you can't really tell. It doesn't really seem, it's not super obvious what it's looking at.
Is it
All right.
looking towards the direction of this hatch we just opened, or?
No, it's actually looking, it's like generally the entrance to the room.
I was going to say, unless anyone interrupts, Kiva just feels pity for this thing. It's just going to open the lid of the jar and see what it does.
You open the lid to the jar, and the frog leaps out. It leaps out with incredible strength and force. It flies really far up in the air, and it's just wildly careening, slamming into glass jars and metal instruments and books and things. Shit's just flying everywhere. And then something catches the frog in midair. It just stops in midair. And all of its froggy flesh melts away from the skeleton. The guts just liquefy, and now there's just a skeletal frog that just falls down to the ground. Everyone take a horrified condition for now. Let's just have that scene.
Kiva, what did you do? I told you not to open things without anyone being.
I see this must have been a mistake. I couldn't. I was feeling for this creature, and I thought it would lead us somewhere. And is it a particular corner of this room where this has happened?
It was like in the middle.
In the middle.
Pretty close where it stopped and liquefied in front of you.
I just
Can I?
knew it meant something.
Well, this is happening. Can Basso capitalize on the chaos and scurry down the ladder?
Like you're just running. Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to follow the thread and get the crown possibly to my death.
Valen, what are you doing right now?
I'm probably pretty frightened at how fast that frog was killed. Hmm. I might see what Basu is doing and just go ahead and follow him if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So Reynolds and Kiva, you're still topside. And Reynolds, you feel something, cold fingers stroking the back of your neck. And you hear a voice whisper to you from behind. Those things don't belong to you. What do you do?
I think Reynolds goes very pale. And he also suddenly realizes that Barso's disappeared. He was trying to stay close to him because he had protection supposedly from the Fey Prince's guards. But I think this is scaring him more than he's ready for. And he'll take the sack and say, these things I can put them right back where I found them.
There's no response, but do you?
Sure, yeah, I think I kind of will carefully back away, looking to try and see if I can see anything where these fingers were touching me. But I'll, tip the sack with the equipment out and crudely try and spread the things out on the desk in approximation of how I think
Where
I
they
found them.
were.
Just trying to rebuild
see?
Kiva, what are you doing right now?
I think it's sinking in for Kiva as well, looking at this frog skeleton and looking over this goblin skeleton. And I mean, just with my revulsion and now horror, I'm just backing away slowly, making myself as unnoticeable as I can. And if I saw where my companions went, I'm going to try to follow them very quietly.
Down the ladder? Reynolds,
Yep.
you going down the ladder? You're the last one. By the time you're done putting the tools away, you realize all your companions are gone.
Yeah, I'll sort of hold my hand up in a placating gesture and say, see, I put everything back. Now I'm going to follow my friends. I don't want to be here any more than you want me here. And bolt down that ladder as quick as I can.
The shaft goes down about pretty far down, actually, like maybe 100 feet or so. And the shaft eventually ends, but the ladder goes all the way to the bottom of a very large room. Do we have torches or anything? Because it's quite dark.
I only have my jar of glowworms.
It's good enough for you, Basso, for sure. Probably doesn't put off a huge amount of light, though. You have to be very close to things, right? Torch will give you a better look.
I think Reynolds probably carries a lantern or some kind of light source.
Yeah. So as long as we have some light source like that. Let me tell you about this room. Sekol hasn't changed, by the way. Let me get gotta look it up now. Hold on. Down here is, it's a lot. This room is some sort of subterranean temple. And what you see is a large statue central in the room of the multi-limbed baboon god holding the blades, but it's somehow more horrifying than the one you saw in the chapel. As a paint the scene question, I'd like to just go around the table and find out what makes it so horrifying. Like what makes it extra scary.
I think it's partly constructed with actual bones that are added on. There's like different incisors from animals. There's pieces of probably human bones attached to it.
Yeah, it's great.
Maybe there's some kind of like kinetic element to the statue that makes it move its arms like back and forth or something.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's good. Like it's constantly moving, like one of those desk toys or whatever.
Yeah.
The arms are always kind of bobbing up and down. That's good. Donkey Kong. Reynolds or Basso?
Yeah, I think just the effect of the light on it as well almost make as the light from the lantern swings across it, it makes it look like its facial expression is in motion. So like it's snarling or looking toward us as the light catches the carved eyeballs.
Maybe there's like a sort of like steady drip of blood coming from like the fangs, like sort of just like a slow drip that like drops and then it's just gone by the time it hits the floor.
Yeah, that's great. There are a number of valuables and offerings that have been laid at the feet of the statue. In your lantern light and your glowworm light, you can see them glittering, jewels, gems, all kinds of valuable things. Also, you see a man, probably the Feyborn prince, based off their raiment, arms crossed, laid in repose at the feet of the statue. Kiva, what do you do?
For some reason, Kiva's instinct is to take the holy symbol that she found earlier that is of the same deity that keeps showing up, and she just kind of wants nothing more to do with it and is going to very kind of carefully, quietly add it to the offerings and just like leave it be and shrink back away from it and see if anything changes with this.
Nothing, but if you get close to the man laid out in repose at the thing's feet, which is nearby, or maybe even as you step back and maybe you disturb it slightly, you bump it or something. 4 warriors in gleaming armor step out of the shadows with their weapons drawn. And they say, "You should go back wherever you came from. This place is not for you, little one." What do you do, Kiva?
I kind of glance back to my companions and just kind of raise my hands and acknowledge them and shrink away from them, just to look like I'm not a threat.
All of you, leave this place.
Does it look like the body that's
By the way, the blood trail is going straight to the head of that person laying in repose, the little thread.
Do they have the crown on, or do I see a crown?
The body has the crown on, yeah.
We're here on behest of the Feyborn. We're here to collect the crown and return it to them.
They say, you are here to return the prince's crown to others of our kind.
That's right. They need it to return home.
Do you have some sort of proof of this?
Basso has like a trickery skill, so he does like a sleight of hand where like the medallion like slides out of his fingers in front of them.
That's very impressed, I'm sure. One of them steps forward, snatches it from you, gives it a look, and he goes to confer with the others. They come back after a time, and they say, all right, we'll give you the crown. We will not stop you. If what you say is true, then very likely they seek it because they are ready to pass into the next life. And they cannot gain entry into the next world without it. And they go and they take the crown. And as they're removing the crown, they do it in a very like ceremonial fashion, a very, they're sad, right? Like they actually, some of them even like start to cry as they like remove the crown from the Feyborn prince's head. And they walk forward to place it in your hands, Basso, and they stretch their hands out. The crown is like it's more of a diadem, really, like a band, jewels. They stretch their hand out, and then they just stop. And they're just like stone cold, frozen. And you hear in the darkness, the light seems to almost fade away. You hear, that doesn't belong to you. And the guardsman just like seizes up and all the color drains from his face. And he just begins to like, he just like becomes desiccated, like his skin just like dries and crackles. You can see his bone piercing through, and his eyes just sort of burst, and he just like crumples down to the ground. The diadem falls at your feet. The others draw their swords, brandishing them. What are all of you doing? Valen.
I think I'll try to grab the crown, but be sneaky about it if I can. I think I'll try to like pretend to fall back in terror and like try to sneak it into my backpack or something.
Good.
Oh no.
I'm gonna give you a risk roll. You can't add dark dice to it though, so you are at the whims of your initial light die roll. What could go wrong here, Rob, Gabriel, and Ty?
Before that, could I help by like kicking the crown back to him, like as a help action?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If the help roll is needed, well, you see, you can't do the help roll though because there's no dark die in the roll. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I like it as a bit of fiction, but I don't know if it really, Like,
It won't help.
yeah, not mechanically
Okay,
at
what
least.
can
I mean, you lose the opportunity, you fall down and it's out of your reach, and it's pretty obvious that you're going for it.
Yeah. I think you just trigger a combat with Nuromen, right? I mean, I think it may just be as simple as that. Any thoughts, Rob?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was wondering if there's some kind of way that, as you try to do this, you knock me and I drop the lantern or something, and in the midst of all this, we lose our light.
That would be lousy. Ty, any thoughts? Or
I was thinking maybe you reach out to grab it and hit it instead, and maybe it like rolls into the treasure pile.
yeah. Well, let's talk about your dice, Valen. This is a bold and daring move. Do you have a relevant skill?
Artifice.
That feels like a stretch just because it's like I vision artifice as like physical things, but I'm kind of here for it. Yeah, I'll go for it since you are a construct. What about devil's bargains? Okay.
Like he's gonna draw the eye of Nuromen anyways, no matter what.
Yeah. I say no matter what, Nuromen dispatches these royal guard.
It might be an interesting devil's bargain to have him knock Reynolds's lantern anyways. That could also.
Yeah, pretty good one, I think.
I was also wondering if there's, given that Valen is a construct of some kind, is there some reason this Fey artifact is something that he can't touch or can't interact with normal as a living creature would be able?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, so like no matter what, you can't actually hold the crown. You can swipe it, but you have to get rid of it quickly.
Thinking no matter what, Nuromen takes interest in Valen, just being a construct, being this experimenter and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, so what do you think, Raji? They're all kind of horrible choices.
Yeah. I kind of like the last one.
Okay, so you draw Nuromen's attention. You got 2 light dice. Go for it. And you are, whatever you roll is what you roll. That's a 3. That's a fail. You go for the crown, but you're not used to your damaged body, right? When you were intact, you could do heroic things like this, right? But like now you can't. And you just sort of stumble and crash. You crash into the lantern, you crash into the jar of glowworms, you smash them, leaving you all in complete darkness. The royal guard scream in terror as something happens to them, and their screams eventually cease. And then you just hear a voice in the darkness that says, "All right then, who's first?" And we'll take a 5-minute break. So you're in the darkness, and Nuromen destroyed, murdered, killed, did something terrible to the Feyborn guards because they're silent now. after moments of screaming. And you all just feel a particular chill in the air. And even perhaps more disturbing, the statue is starting to make noises. It's starting to rumble. It's starting to make deep guttural sounds like a baboon screeching from the depths of hell. Basso, what do you do?
I think Bassa's like drops to the ground and starts feeling around, looking to try to find like purchase on Valen's like wood and steel exterior, while whispering, Valen, Valen, the alchemical mixture. We need light. Uh, and sort of like hoping that Valen hears that and can apply that bioluminescent tincture that we found so that we can get out of here.
Valen?
Yeah, I would try to do that if possible.
So the goal is to like just use it to light the room somehow?
I think I'd pour it on myself.
Oh, okay. I like that. So now, because it has an effect, just not on you though, because you're a mannequin. So yeah, you're now a glowing, a glowing mannequin. You can see better now, and in fact, you can see that the stone around the statue is cracking, as if the skin of the statue were splitting. And the loud or the sort of baboon screeches that seem to be coming from the depths of the earth are getting closer and closer, louder and louder. Reynolds, what do you do?
I don't know about you three, but it is time to go.
You
Reynolds
run,
is,
Reynolds.
yeah, Reynolds is trying to remember as best he can his way back to the ladder. I don't think
Yeah.
it's far from it, hopefully, and
It's not far.
yeah.
It's long.
And
That's the problem. It's a long climb. Kiva, what do you do?
I agree. I want to dash out of here. I'm a bit worried about the crown though. But you know, better to get out alive than die with
Yeah.
the crown, I guess.
Basso, now that you can see, what do you do?
Can I see the crown?
Oh yeah, it's on the ground still.
I think Paso is like, as everyone's running, I'm going to like crawl forward, like on my stomach to try to get to the crown.
You have it, then what?
I turn, like, look at Valen and hopefully hope that he's like running for the ladder, and then yeah, I'm gonna do the army crawl to the ladder and try to make a run for it.
Valen, are you going for the ladder or what?
Yeah, I think like as the light source, I'll go to the ladder so that everyone can see it, and I'll climb up last.
Yeah, so you're there. The dim, still fairly dim light of Valen's luminescent body lighting the space. Valen, you see Basso crawling like with the crown to the thing. Reynolds is already like almost up to the shaft to get out, and Kiva's right behind Reynolds. And to your great horror, Valen, the stone facade of the baboon falls away completely. And what's left is the multi armed baboon god, blades in its hands, screeching wildly the screeches echoing all around the chamber. And the thing is enormous. It's like probably, God, it's big. It's probably like 15, 20 feet tall. And it just lunges for the ladder. I think you all either have to, I think you're going to have to combat this thing long enough to get away, basically. Theoretically, you could maybe try to kill it. This is maybe not completely unheard of. This could just be an avatar of the god. But in any case, Reynolds, you're trying to get up there, and it just like, you just see this like this huge like fist and blade just like clang against the metal of the ladder, you know, to almost like an arm is blocking your way, right? With a giant sword. And then the other arms are going for your companions. Everyone but Valen, who is the light source, roll, describe how you're vulnerable right now and roll your weak point.
Is there a way before we do that to spend like 3 tokens and get out of here? Is that
Yes, because the goal is to safely
right?
acquire goods. If you have the tokens, you can spend them.
All right, I have 3 and I can't carry any more treasure. So since I sort of got us into this mess, I will spend all 3 of mine to get us out of this.
Indeed. I will give you full control of the fiction here, Basso. How do you manage to, like, what does this look like? How are you all getting out safely?
It's kind of a hard question to answer because we're dealing with like a baboon god.
Rob says you said you have an idea in the chat. What is that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that you described the sword kind of slamming into the ladder and blocking our way. If that sword is staying there, Reynolds has a ritual called rust that allows him to corrode any kind of material, I think it says. Yeah, erode an object with the ravages of time. So I'm wondering if, since I'm the first one up the ladder, I can just actually touch this sword and just destroy it with corrosion, so that it's just possible for us to get past it
Just
up the
scramble
ladder.
up. Yeah, I think that's probably enough for Reynolds and Kiva. What about Basso and Valen? How do you all get away safely?
So Basso does have the levitate or the float ritual. So maybe he just like, grabs the knife and just like makes a huge cut, holds his breath and starts like floating up and maybe can like wrap like a harness of rope around Valen quickly as he's like ascending.
Or just grabs Valen, right?
Yeah, grab Valen.
You're all like
Yeah.
floating up. Kiva, anything you want to add to the fiction here?
Yeah, I think Kiva would use a ritual as well, creating a web with maybe some roots from the shaft, just throwing out some branches, roots in desperation to kind of tangle it up a little longer.
Yeah, that's great. Valen, anything to add?
I think I throw my fishing net like on its head or something just to try to
just to like tangle it up.
throw anything at it to distract it.
Yeah, I like that. It's good. And eventually, as long as you get to the shaft part, you're good because it can't reach you there. It's just the exposed ladder where it can reach you. Are you all leaving straight away?
We could grab the equipment that you dropped right now and grab it on the way up. But no, I think we're.
But yeah, I kind of made some effort into pretending to put it back in place, so it would take some time, and I think Reynolds is not interested in spending any time.
Yeah, I think we're booking it.
And so ends the Maze of Nuromen. We see you all as quickly as possible trying to get back across the river. using magic perhaps to get back up to your ropes in the main central shaft and climbing up out of the big, central shaft underneath Law's End. You get up to Law's End, travel through the woods, make your way back to the Feyborn camp. I don't want to role play it, but the Feyborn actually are very happy about you retrieving the crown, and they give you a payment of silver equal to 1 gold each. And they do want their little medallion back, though. and that's it. And so with that, we'll go to Hearthfire. In fact, why don't we take, since this is the first Hearthfire I'm doing with you all, why don't we take another quick break, about, say, 5 to 10 minutes, we'll say 10 minutes, read through the Hearthfire material, which is on the Character Keeper. If you go to the Character Keeper and scroll down, beneath the heavy black line, there's all the elements for the Hearthfire. So Horde, Household, Carousing Equipment, Library, Training, Healing, and that's it, really. So read through that and then decide when we get back what you want to do from Hearthfire, and we'll just go in turn and let you all do Hearthfire stuff, okay? So let's take 10 so you can all do your homework on that, and we'll come back and do it. Okay, we're back. Hearthfire is Trophy Gold's downtime procedure. It's a chance for you all to do some upkeep for your character, like lowering their ruin and things like that. But also it's how we advance the characters. And I want to say that advancement in Trophy Gold is not level advancement like you would find in another role-playing game. It's more narrative advancement, mostly. We get to learn more about your drive. We get to learn more about your relationship to Fort Durin or wherever you live and that kind of thing. There is actual advancement as well if you wish. You can take a household, for example. You can learn a new skill and learn a new ritual as well. You have lots of different options. You can carouse, which is fun to do, and sometimes I put a scene on it if I think it needs it. And yeah, so let's do some Hearthfire. I'm going to go in reverse. Well, first of all, before we do anything, you have to meet your burdens. So erase a number of gold or treasures equal to that gold to clear your burdens or to match your burdens, and then unmark your armor. So if you have armor marked, unmark it. And then there's the matter of Valen's repairs. So we need 2 gold to repair Valen. I don't care where it comes from, but Valen's burdens are going up by 1 as well. So
Yeah, and I have 1 from a treasure left over. And that's it.
I'll pitch in the other one.
very well.
Thank you.
And we'll reset your ruin back down to whatever its starting value was, Valen, but your burdens do go up by 1. Let's go in reverse order here. Renat, what would you like to do for Hearthfire to start?
So I think looking at the options here, I'm interested in the household, establishing some kind of refuge, and I also
Right.
need to narrate a flashback to the moment my drive became important to me.
That's for the Horde.
So I think I'll start.
Yeah.
I think I'll start with that. So Reynolds, as we established, used to be a servant. He worked in the house of a noble gentleman who, employed a number of servants, and Reynolds was certainly not one of the more high-ranking ones, but he was, a footman or something of that sort, would serve food during the meal times. He was, under a butler or a head servant, and he would accompany the noble on in his coach or carriage when he went places sometimes. I think one day Reynolds returned to the servants' quarters after his his shift had ended, and found somebody waiting for him there, which was this character, Bright Teeth of Sirio. And he said, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news about your father. He has passed on. He's left this life. There is the small unfortunate matter that he did so owing me a considerable sum of money. And you are his heir. And therefore it's my sad duty to inform you that the debt passes on to you. I don't think Reynolds was on great terms with his father, who was, Reynolds is not the most unsketchy character, even when he was a servant. But everything outside of the law that he knows, he learned at the feet of his father, I think, and he knew his father was kind of an unsavory character. And also it was apparent that this was a sum of money that was sufficient, that any honest work that he qualified for is not going to be sufficient to pay this off. So I think he struggled on a little with his carrying on working, but it became apparent that his, whatever pennies he could save from his pay would barely even service the interest on this debt. So eventually he tried to escape, tried to run away, become a fugitive. And at that point, he now lives in what I'm imagining to be I think somewhere in Fort Durin, there's maybe a bridge, a big stone bridge, and on that there are kind of various shacks and hovels and stalls. It's almost like a marketplace along the bridge, and Reynolds lives in a small crude room behind a stall where there's an old lady who has this big pot of soup that's just constantly on the boil. It kind of never stops. That she just throws more ingredients in. The pot never gets cleaned out or anything. It just carries on going. And he has an arrangement with her, and he is in a little room behind a stall. And I think in terms of where he stores his hoard, which is one of the questions I need to answer here, some of these kind of crude wooden shacks that are just built by the people who occupy them just hang over the water, over the side of the bridge. And his hovel has kind of a hole in the floor where, for obvious purposes. And I think there's a way that you can reach down through there, and there's actually a loose stone that's part of the bridge, and he can kind of conceal things in there. So if any of Sirio's thugs came by and turned over his dwelling place for to see if there's anything valuable there, they hopefully wouldn't find it, and it would be an unsavory task to reach down through this hole looking for, or certainly putting your head down there looking for anything.
Indeed.
And I think Reynolds' intention is that he doesn't want to keep giving a Sirio small pieces of amounts of money, because that will just pay off interest, and the principal of this crushing debt will never get paid down. So he's hoping to just amass enough that he can just get himself clear of this.
So you are establishing a household, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So because narrating the flashback, that's all putting money in your hoard, which you should do. The household, though, you have kind of answered what kind of structure it is, so I think that's pretty well settled. But something else you get to do is everybody else gets to say a memento from your journeys together that can be found in the household, and then you note them below. So this is these are journeys. This could be something from Maze of Nuromen, or it could be something from some adventure you all had that we didn't get to see before, right? But just something that, just something that he has in his household. And for establishing the household, you increase your burdens by 1 Reynolds, and you get to clear a ruin in your conditions if you wish.
Does that so I would have to take an extra gold now to clear my burdens, right?
Your burdens go up by 1 for doing the household, and then you get to lower your ruin and by 1 and clear your conditions if you wish.
Okay.
But Kiva, Basso, and Balin, what are the mementos?
I think from Basso, Reynolds has 1 sheet of the etchings that we made in the of the love letters.
Nice. So you just type that in your mementos there. Reynolds. Balin.
I think there's 1 object that he didn't put back of Nuromen's.
Oh, what is it? I'd love to know. What specifically?
Maybe it's just like a candle stick holder or something like that, like a small one.
Nuromen's candle, physical D&D magic item. Kiva.
Kiva leaves something that she made before. It's sort of like a simple bracelet you'd kind of braid, but maybe there's a scrap of that some fancy cloth from one of the tapestries that we found to give it a little bit of color, just sort of like a memento of our travels.
Nice, good. And Reynolds, I assume you were stashing money in your hoard as well, since you did the narrating parts. How much are you putting in there?
I think I'm putting 2 in there. I presume I need to pay down that extra burden for the household right away.
No, so the burden, no, you don't. That's for next time. Yeah.
Okay, great. In that case, I'm stashing 3 gold.
Okay, awesome. Fabulous. Okay, well, let's go to Basso. Basso, what would you like to do for Hearthfire?
All right. So Basso is going to also establish a household. I think his household is going to be like a tiny room partitioned in a cellar underneath like a woodworker's sort of like shop. So just sort of like one of those rooms that has been converted into a living space that Basso has managed to get for cheap, mainly because it's this sort of like hidden away. You have to like open the cellar doors and head down into there. And it's just like he's just like converted it almost into like a study as opposed to like somewhere comfortable to live, a place where like he has a bed in the corner for sleeping, and that's kind of the only comforts he has.
Fantastic. Reynolds, Kiva, and Balin, you get to put mementos in there, or name some mementos.
Maybe a small vial that you still have of the bioluminescent liquid stuff.
Maybe there's some stray paper from Nuromen's study that looks like it's some kind of formula. Maybe it's incomplete. Maybe it's just a good puzzle for Basso to kind of figure out later or show off and pretend he knows what it is.
I think maybe he has Basso was the one who opened the door with the mouth. I wonder if he still has the little bracelet that we found on the skeleton with the name Anthea on it.
Fantastic. And Basso, your burdens go up by 1, and you get to clear 1 ruin and all your conditions if you wish. I always say if you wish, because sometimes people get conditions that they want to keep. So fantastic. Let's go to Balin. Balin, you don't have any gold, but you can still you can do a household, and you can, if you want to, or you can do things to just increase your burdens, like training or things like that.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to do?
I had an odd idea for training that'll run by y'all. I think Valen was kind of compelled by seeing Reynolds use the rust ritual. And since that's kind of what's happening to his sister, he wants to learn it from Reynolds. So maybe he could figure out how to reverse it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Could I do that?
Yeah, I think that's great. So you want to learn the rust ritual?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. I think
And my
that's
mentor
great.
would be Reynolds.
Sounds good. Oh well, no, that's a
Oh,
rituals and training and skills are different. The
okay.
ritual,
Yeah, that would be
yeah,
the library. Right.
yeah, that'd be library. It's different. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can do it that way, but I think like narratively, maybe I approach Reynolds about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Borrow the book or something.
So narrate a scene
Okay.
when the moment that you mastered it.
I think I am just like testing it on a small piece of my body. And for a long time, nothing really happened. And then finally, I made like one of my fingers or something like rust over. And I got really excited about that. And so I have to describe how the mastery subtly affects my physical appearance. Yeah, so maybe after I mastered it, I kept practicing on other things, but it's kind of like there's some splashback onto me a little bit. So there's parts of my body that have little rust specks on them.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Okay. Your burdens go up by 1, but you have the spell. And you can add it to the library portion of your character sheet. Okay, Kiva.
Kiva also will set up a household. And I'm thinking this is sort of maybe right outside Fort Doran. There was a failed orchard experiment where the trees didn't really grow quite how you'd want them to near the forest, so it's affordable. And she's basically found a small grove of dense trees, and there's like some dead trees in the middle that she's slowly clearing out. So it's almost like using the structure of the trees as like a giant teepee or tent, and starting to weave cloth and kind of bring the branches together to make this structure that's open at the top.
Fabulous. I love it.
Mm.
Let's decorate it, gang. What's in there from your previous adventures?
It has to be something to do with the ooze that was attracted to Kiva. I wonder if there's like
A little
she
jar
has some
of it.
kind of a little jar, and it kind of squirms around.
Yeah.
Just a little fragment of the.
It's good.
Maybe like a little tiny planter with a few of the psychedelic mushrooms as well.
Nice.
Gosh, I'm having a hard time thinking of something.
It could be something totally from a different adventure too. Like, doesn't have to be from Maze of Nuromen.
Yeah. Maybe I gave you like a small gift or something for that time you like saved my life. You're kind of like into gardening and stuff like that, right? A little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so maybe it's just like a pot or something like that. Maybe it's the pot that the psychedelic plants are in.
Maybe something from your body, like a piece of your
Oh yeah.
old like your old like parts.
Oh, maybe I made you a trowel or something out of
Yeah,
Oh,
there you
nice.
go.
That's awesome.
parts from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, good. And if anybody had like hunt roll tokens at the end, you can convert that to gold right now if you want. So that's fine by me. Anything else, Reynolds, that you want to do for Hearthfire?
I think I'm good. So there's additional hunt roll tokens I can
Just stash it.
Stash.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think Reynolds is just relieved to come out of this in one piece with something to add to his stash. That's exactly what he wanted to gain from this kind of venture.
Basso, anything else you'd like to do?
Yeah, I'd like to acquire a library to gain 2 rituals.
Okay, nice. What do you have in mind for rituals? It's going to increase your burdens a lot.
Well, Basso is pretty confident that he can pay for them. So the first one, he wants to learn the Enliven ritual.
Okay.
And I think the scene of him mastering it is him poring over the tomes from Nuromen, and then like finally catching on and like animating like a small effigy of like bones in like a little tiny toy skeleton almost.
Right.
Finally like gets it and maybe like finally masters it. And then the other ritual he was trying to learn was the yoke ritual. And I think the scene of him mastering that is like middle of the night, an abandoned part of Fort Durin, like maybe like a sort of like a warehouse or like a tower that is not used anymore, that's all boarded up. And Basso is just spending the time to like create this spectral bowl to rip open the doors of this abandoned place because he doesn't want to be held up by doors anymore. Like in these dungeons, he wants to be able to like rip them open. So finally like getting it in the middle of the night and then retreating before like the watch shows up.
Nice. How is your physical appearance subtly affected by mastering either or both of these rituals?
I think he sort of like a sort of like ghastly sort of color drains out of his face permanently almost because of like studying Nuromen's secrets, and he almost takes on like that sort of like dark circles under his eyes, looking like that typical almost necromancer sort of at one point, and it never quite like goes back.
Nice, good, love it. Valen, do you want to stash that gold away, or is there something else you want to do?
I think I'm good. I'm gonna hold on to it since my burdens are so high.
You do not get to. That is.
Oh, I don't.
You
Okay.
must
Yeah.
stash it, yeah, or spend it on
I
something
will
in
stash it
Hearthfire.
then. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
Where do you keep your hoard so no one can find it?
I think maybe there's some type of like junkyard that I spend a lot of time in. And I just have it like buried in a old like metal locker within the junkyard.
Okay, and are you ready to narrate a flashback to the moment your drive became important to you? I can come back to you if you want to think about it.
Yeah, give me just a sec to think about it, I think.
Let me check in with Kiva. Kiva, did you lower your ruin by 1 and increase your burdens when you took your household?
Forgot about the rune, but yes, I added the burden.
Okay.
And I also would like to stash some treasure or a gold.
Absolutely. Where do you keep yours so that no one can find it?
I am right now. It's just a hole, but I'm sort of building a cellar at the bottom of my little hideout, with a little trapdoor under it. And in time, maybe I'll have more shelves and places to keep treasure safe down there.
Nice. Are you ready to narrate your flashback?
Yeah. This is for the drive, right?
When it became important to you.
Yeah. So I think at one point, when Kiva was still, among some of her fellow goblins and just travelers, outskirts of town, there was a festival, and she saw almost like dervishes, dancers, with big flowing robes, with just beautiful layers of silks and color, lanterns, just this spectacle of just beautiful light and music, and probably some sort of magic involved. And who was just entranced by this, and had maybe talked to one of these dancers and just heard that name, that the swirling court was something out there, and it still has this aura of mystique to her. But that's where she got the impression that to join them and maybe get to mingle with other people with those type of skills and abilities, and learn more mysteries, you'd have to kind of prove yourself. And so that kind of set her on the road to not just surviving, but adventuring, to kind of come up with something valuable enough or achieve something enough in herself to kind of be seen as maybe another mystic or sorcerer of some kind one day.
I love the idea of like the swirling court, like the courtiers dance, each of them, like their dance incorporates their story, right? Like, and their adventures and their experiences. I think it's kind of a cool, like, that's in my mind, that's what maybe is part of it, but I don't know. That's great. Awesome. Love all that. Let's just Valen, you ready for your flashback?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So I think Valen and his sibling used to also do this kind of thing, dungeon delving, together, and she was kind of more of a magician. And we split up at one point, and she went into some kind of magic room and was inflicted by the rust ritual, and that's when that happened, and we had to leave prematurely. And I think that's kind of what led me to finding a different party of people to venture out with, preferably more than just two. And yeah, I've been trying to help her since.
Fabulous. Thank you. Is there anything else anyone wants to do on Hearthfire?
I have one more thing to do, which is spend 1 gold in town to open out crossed slots in your backpack.
Fabulous.
So I need to name the shopkeeper
Mhm.
and come up with a secret. So I think the shopkeeper's name is Lucia, and I think the secret is that she runs like a pretty like standard shop, but she has deep connections back to the academy that Basso used to be part of and is now banned from. So she can sort of like gain information about their recent discoveries. Obviously not going to help Basso until he deals with her a lot more, but it is like a connection he is trying to build up.
I love it. Thank you. Anything else on Hearthfire? Okay. Well, then that is our session. We'll do stars and wishes in a moment, but I do want to say that I'm interested in picking up this campaign in probably like the back half of April on the same day and time. I think I'd like to do like a short little dungeon on the 21st and the 28th of April. So if you all are interested in doing that, I will remind you as we get closer to that time to find out if you are interested in continuing. So, but maybe mark your calendar now if you know you are. And in fact, I better do that. But yeah, stars and wishes. Stars are things you enjoyed about the whole series, and wishes are things you hope to see next time if you get a chance to play these characters again. Whoever wants to go first, speak.
I think stars. I really enjoyed all the kind of between character moments. We as the game went on, we got a few in there. I think Barso and I perhaps had the best one, but I was pleased that there was a little bit of connection between Reynolds and Kiva and Reynolds and Valen as well. So that was really enjoyable, and it'd be great to build on that in future.
I really enjoyed the atmosphere of the dungeon. Like it did feel like we were, desperate adventurers, like down in these strange maze. But so I really enjoyed that, and sort of like the building tension as we navigated through it, and then eventually faced Nuromen, and then fled from him and the baboon god.
I really liked the last scene. It felt very like stressful because we really didn't have much left we could do besides spend some tokens. So that was really fun.
It's a
We
really
got
good moment to have some tokens, let me tell
Yeah.
you. and a set goal that saves your bacon, right? Yeah. But
Yeah. Yeah, it got really intense in that last moment, and I enjoyed that a lot. I also like when the frog melted. That was just kind of neat.
Gabriel, you want to go?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the dungeon as well, and the variety of set pieces, I guess. Even though we talked earlier about it being this classic dungeon, it was really cool to come across the laboratory. I like the hijinks we all got up to a little bit, where we were all poking around looking for things and getting into trouble. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for me, my stars, I quite enjoyed the interplay between the characters. So much of it's like kind of focused on the dungeons. You don't get to always see a lot of that, but I felt I got a good sense of these characters truly. Like, we got this sort of like bravery to his detriment of Valen. We got this sort of very holistic approach to the situation from Kiva. We got this sort of constantly looking out for his own tail and just looking for money, Reynolds, which worked out great for Reynolds, by the way. And we got this sort of um, like just this constantly probing, pushing your luck, thirst for academic knowledge from Basso. So it was really, really fun to watch all of that, to see your characters. I mean, in some sense, it's kind of funny because the dungeon is so classic. It's so classically D&D. And I actually think you all, maybe inadvertently, but you all really delivered classic D&D. Like, we got really classic D&D character tropes, right? Like, I mean, you aren't called these classes, but we basically got a paladin, a wizard, a thief, and a cleric, right? Like, we kind of got the whole classic party, right? So I thought that was just kind of really, really fascinating. Another star, despite its sort of very classic feel, I think that the Maze of Nuromen, you only saw half of it, by the way, but I think the Maze of Nuromen has lots of really interesting set pieces, kind of like Gabriel was saying, great set pieces, and lots of fun dangers. And so I think it really paid off. It was good. And I guess my last star is I love any opportunity to turn the lights out on the screen and whisper in the dark. So anybody have wishes for next time?
Oh, I have one more star I just thought of real quick, and that was allowing me to still play after I die.
Sure, yeah.
Putting
Yeah.
those restrictions on me is kind of like suddenly I was playing Trophy Dark,
You were
instead.
kind of, yeah.
It's like
yeah.
I converted.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of a neat way to approach it.
Well, I also like the little, like, it came up in chat when, like, I said, because you're using Valen, you get an extra hunt roll die, and someone was like, "Your equipment," which I just thought was kind of a funny thing. But yeah. Okay, so wishes. Do they have wishes for next time?
The specific wish that I have is that people like the other characters sort of, I guess, like pick on or like challenge Basso, because I really enjoy playing a character that like doesn't know what they're doing and is sort of like in over their head, and also like getting told by the others that he is doing foolish things.
Yeah, I was surprised by how much they just let you keep doing that stuff.
Yeah, because I will always sort of like push for a cinematic sort of like push your luck character, but I really enjoy the arguments that can come up between someone like so desperate they're willing to risk everything compared to someone who's not.
Any other wishes?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the just in character conversations when we're going on adventure again, and sort of like, what do we learn? Or like, I guess we're gonna do this again, and just kind of check in and look at how we've changed, because there'll be a lot to work with there.
I like to flip flop between like dungeons and more social type scenarios, like back and forth. And so I think the next one is going to be more of like a social kind of scenario. So you might have more opportunities to like really have those like good, chewy character dialogue moments for sure.
Yeah, I'd be really interested in, if we're going to have the same group next time, that'll be cool, because I feel like Reynolds and Basso have a bit of a dynamic, and it would be really good to build out the same thing with the other two characters. And I think, yeah, I feel like Reynolds got away real light in this adventure. He came out with a ton of gold and not a lot of ruin, and
Trophy Gold is very kind to players who play like safely and looking after their own skin, right? Trophy Gold like rewards that a lot.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's what I was trying to lean into. He is the desperate treasure hunter who really puts himself first and doesn't really care about these other people beyond what they can do for him. So it'd be great, great if people are like calling me out on that in future, and holding him to account for his selfishness.
Raji, any wishes?
Yeah, similar to that. I'm sure that Valen probably had a conversation with Reynolds at some point, but not a ton. And I think that was on accident, but I kept seeing like similarities between our characters in some subtle ways. So I think it'd be cool to expand on that next time. And other than that, maybe just some more horror stuff. I'm always into that. And Jason, you do it well. So
for me, wishes, I really want to go deeper on the drives next time. I think this has been this is the case in all my campaigns so far of Trophy Gold. After the first dungeon is so much about like kind of just figuring the characters out, kind of seeing what they do, how they behave, how they act, how they take action. And then in the future incursions, we get to really like open up on the drives, right? And that's what I'm looking forward to doing. And so getting to do Hearthfire lays the table nicely for like how to possibly explore those things, right? So I now know a little bit more about like what your character's motivations are. And so I'm looking forward to figuring out like how to work the drives into the story and ways of probing you all to get you to invest in the drives and kind of really speak to the drives. And so I think that's kind of my big wish for next time. And yeah, I kind of want to do something really, really horror forward also, Raji. It's my comfort zone, and I think I want to really do it. Yeah, so that'll be exciting. Well, That puts us just about at time. Man, I'm good. And let's stop the recording.